If poor people fantasize about winning the lottery, then what do rich people fantasize about? I know a guy who worked for Barbara Streisand, and apparently she was upset that her Picasso and original wasn't as nice as someone else's. Grass is always greener, I guess. What's funny is he was such a prolific artist, and relatively recent, that a lot of people have Picassos. I mean, none of his works are cheap, but unremarkable ones are likely cheaper than you think. Picasso himself openly admitted that later in his career he was just shitting out mediocre art for rich people that would sell through his hype name alone. An early Banksy. More time. Yup, time is the real currency of life, and it's the only truly non-renewable resource. I once heard a time in the final currency, and that really stuck with me. I once had a chance to spend a few moments in idle conversation with a multimillionaire, and he told me that having money just takes the mask off of the problems that most people argue about when they think they're arguing about money. Based on that, I guess many of them daydream about simpler times. I guess I'm so poor that I don't understand what this means. I think it's like this. Bear with me, it's 12:03 a.m. and I'm a little drunk. After July 4th, I broke up with my ex a year-ish ago over monetary issues. We were long distance. He was 15 months jobless, and I was the only one who was making the effort to see the other, and we lived 5 hours away from each other. Things were tense for a while due to money, and as a result of the lack of money, he was making less of an effort with me and seeing me less and less. However, this just showed holistic issues in the relationship. Of the 4 years we were together, he drove to see me twice total, and I drove to see him every 3 weeks for 3 years. He didn't value my input when I said I was worried about his spending given lack of job. He said he would figure it out and continued to play Kharkov all day while ordering Uber Eats. He didn't listen to me after I gave him multiple bailouts, both monetarily and solutions-based. He claimed I didn't, and the way our relationship was the way it had to be. So yes, I broke up with my ex for monetary reasons, but in reality it was because he was past the point of trying in the relationship and had been for a while. When breaking up with him, I said that all of this had been exacerbated by money issues, but these issues had been going on for a while. It just took raising of the stakes and lacking money to realize he didn't value me. That was long-winded, but hopefully anecdotally gets the point across. Edit. Kharkov should be Tarkov. I think it's more like money is meaningless. It's a stand-in for value. So usually an argument about money is really an argument about values. I think what the multimillionaire said was that you get to see how bad people actually are when they have the money and power to be as bad as they really want to be. I don't get paid enough turns into I don't like that person, or in being lazy, or I don't like this situation. But people just like to focus on money so they don't have to talk about values. Edit. For example, I had an acquaintance who had horrible values and decision-making skills, but he was always blaming everyone else when he didn't have money for food. Like FFS, you are broke. You don't need a fucking Cuban cigar in a third world country. Imagine it costing like $100 relatively here when that same money could feed you for a week. And then they complain about no money for food. People love to do anything except to look at their own personal issues and deficiencies, which they always justify as being fair and appropriate in comparison to others. I have a friend who is really rich. Like, money is not an issue's rich. I asked him one day, jokingly, "Lol mate, what do you want for your birthday? We are legit giving up buying you anything." He said, "Nothing mate, just come over to my birthday party and I will be really happy." So I guess, friends and connection. Tip. Get together and bake him a cake. For most people with money, knowing you have spent time on them is something they appreciate a lot. Living forever. I remember Bill Gates basically saying that in an AMA here 5 or 6 years ago, someone asked the question basically saying, obviously you have everything you could ever want. Is there any goals you have for the future? And he gave a simple response like, not die. I'm not rich, and TBH, that's a goal I'd like to see, though I don't expect to. My biggest dreams aren't something that can be realized in my lifetime, or likely even my children's or grandchildren's. Yeah, same. But not because I'd really want to live forever. I believe at some point you'd just be done with everything you'd want to do or have some grand plans. But mostly because I'm curious what the future holds. I'm already super curious about what the world will look like in 50 years, so something I'll probably see in my lifetime. but way more what it might look like in 200 years, especially considering the insane difference of the past 200 years. There is a whole universe out there to explore. Digitize me and send several copies on a small solar sail at 0.0001% light speed and wake me up in 5K years when we reach the Orion Nebula. People are saying joke answers, and that's cool. But I think that something that rich people become fixated on is being admired. You've got food, shelter, you've got resources for you and your children. You've got vacations and toys and options. But what do people think about when they hear your name? That's what makes Bill Gates launch the Gates Foundation. That's why they donate huge sums and get their names on buildings. That's why Andrew Carnegie built the public buildings he did later in his life. That's why they join nonprofit boards and host fundraisers. That's literally why Alfred Nobel started the Nobel Peace Prize. It worked. His name is far more associated with peace than with his most popular invention, dynamite. Rich people want to be admired. Or maybe all people want to be admired. But rich people can afford to focus on it because they have food and homes and time. The way that some poor schmuck fantasizes about hitting the Powerball, some rich schmuck fantasizes about being remembered as something better than a schmuck. I also think that a lot of rich people feel guilty about their wealth, although not so much those who were born into it, who are more likely to take it for granted and feel entitled big, as they know how much pure luck and being in the right place at the right time, and knowing the right people, having the right ideas, and the opportunities to capitalize on them, play in their success. A lot of celebrities in particular also seem to suffer from chosen one syndrome because they can't understand why they, and not someone similarly talented, should have been so successful simply doing what they enjoy. So they imagine that there must be something special about them that transcends circumstances and ability. I can't speak as someone who is rich because I'm not. But my ex was a multimillionaire. We came from wildly different economic backgrounds. I grew up poor, in a low-income neighborhood. She grew up in an upper-middle-class neighborhood. She received an inheritance early in our relationship, and to keep things short, let's just say she never has to work a day in her life again. Family-wise, we both grew up and experienced adversity. We were both raised in dysfunctional households. The major difference was how we dealt with high-stress situations. I've always been quick on my feet and learned at an early age how to work around adversity despite sometimes it being unhealthy. I learned at a young age that I had to deal with my problems and find solutions in order to move forward with life and enjoy what I had. I think her experiences, which are totally valid, were difficult, but I don't think she ever knew how to provide for herself, how to soothe or heal and move forward because of the safety nets available to her. It gravely affected her and was ultimately why we broke up. We had fundamentally different views on life and how to solve problems. I always think back to when we shared our life experiences and we related on a lot of things, but she was angry at me for going through worse things and not developing BPD, which she suffered from. I loved her and I hope someday she learns to love herself, forgive herself, and learn that life doesn't always have to be a cruel experience. You gotta take life as it comes at you and make the best of it. Despite the pain, there is joy in life.